Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all. Best competitive reality show.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we did it.
What did we do?
We are here with...
You know what, then? In that case, Hal, I'm going to stop you right there. Hey, everybody. You did it, too.
Yeah, congratulations. You're here with us.
Yeah.
Also here with us is the sweet baby brother of the McElroy clan, Griffin McElroy.
Hi, Griffin.
You've done it. You've caught them all.
Yes.
Right.
Trainers, here's your certificate, and you're going to go up in the Hall of Fame. I do not think there's another, maybe Jordan Jesse Go actually has had all of us on at some point. But
no.
Yeah, that's the boss.
And you know me, like, I don't guess for anything less than 10 G's, so.
Sure.
I don't get out of bed for less than 5. So just like go ahead and PayPal, I guess, or do you guys use Venmo?
You know what? We just send it by carrier pigeon. It's pennies.
I don't know what a G is. What does that stand for?
It stands for never mind.
It stands for a graham cracker.
Oh, 10 graham crackers.
Send me 10 graham crackers, and
That's weird because Travis had to send him 10 marshmallows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
your dad had to send him 10 Hershey bars.
It's a whole skit.
It's the family s'more.
Yeah, and Justin wanted fire.
Do you guys hate the word skit?
Yes.
I use it only exclusively as a joke. I would never say that I'm performing or writing a skit.
Yeah. Does your family is all cool and in the know. I have so many people in my family call it skit comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, yikes.
Yeah, rough.
That's no good.
No.
I have an aunt who for years has told me whenever I see her, like, you should be on SNL because they're not funny. And I go, oh, great. Are you casting?
Yeah.
Do you, like, just know? I don't think she's ever actually seen an episode of the show.
Because they're not funny.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know they're not funny? Oh, I don't know. I stopped watching in 76.
Because you're not on it, honey.
There you go.
Give him a call.
You could be the new Chevy.
Yeah. I'm the new Chevy. Can't wait to alienate everybody.
Chevy Chase.
Good old Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase.
Well, you chose a topic. That makes sense.
Let that slide.
Too bad. It already happened.
Yeah, the list of topics is buck wild. And I guess most of them are submitted from your listeners.
Yes, yes they are.
There were a lot on. I was tempted to, I believe you had Sega versus Nintendo on there, but that would have been a 3-minute long episode. I feel like anybody who would say Sega in that is like on some hipster stuff or that's all they had.
Now hang on a second.
Okay, we can't make this that episode. Come on.
I'm just saying, I grew up on a Nintendo NES and then my subsequent system was a Sega Genesis and then a Sega CD. You know what I'm realizing? I have no leg to stand on.
Yeah. Oh, the Sega CD. What a rich I'm the McElroy for that one. Justin has a weird Sega CD fetish.
Really?
I don't know how public that is. He owns every FMV Sega CD game. It's like
really?
Dark Passion.
How many are there?
Oh my God, there's so many because that's like what Sega CD made its name by is we can do full motion video. We can do actual video of actual people.
That's the thing.
They made Night Trap and Double Switch and Mad Dog McCree and Wirehead and just like tons of these FMV games, and Justin's obsessed with the acting in them, so he owns all of them.
Oh man!
Him for the Sega CD versus I don't know PlayStation.
The nice thing about the Sega CD games were that if you like full motion video, but you only like it in 320 by 240 resolution.
I can play those games on my Apple Watch.
Oh yeah, and great performance. I remember watching, there was some murder, I don't know which murder mystery game it was. I assume there were multiple.
There were a few.
It was like a community theater, but all the people who didn't get cast was like, we should do our own thing.
Yeah.
And let's film it. I know that Jim has a camera.
Yeah. And I have the rights to Ellery Queen. Why don't we use that detective that no one's ever heard of?
All right, let's move away from the acting to reality because you chose best reality competition show.
Yes.
it makes sense. You co-hosted Rose Buddies with your wife Rachel.
I did. Yes, I used to professionally talk about reality television program. That was our show where we would recap Bachelor and Bachelorette and all the sort of side offshoots. Bachelor in Paradise weren't around when they were doing Bachelor Winter Games, unfortunately. But yes, we walked away from that like 2 years ago because the show got just so nasty and bad, and we didn't really enjoy it anymore. And so, but while we were doing that,
your show got nasty and bad, or the Bachelor and Bachelorette got nasty and bad?
Oh, that show's just all saints, all smart. But while we were doing that show, like during the off season, we had time to watch like a bunch of different reality shows, typically like romance based reality shows, of which there are infinity. And so, and also like I've been watching reality TV since basically its inception and still do and adore it. So I feel very, comfortable deciding what the very best one is with you two gentlemen.
What do you love about it?
It's tough to say, right? Because it's inherently, when you think of like reality television, there's a certain trashiness to it that, you just cannot escape from when really it should be, you consider it a genre, right? When I'm thinking about this list that we have here, I'm thinking about the genre of reality television, but really it's more of its own like medium. It's its own style. It's its own tone more than it is a genre, because there's a lot of different genres that can live inside of reality television.
It feels like saying that your favorite kind of music is cassette.
Yes, exactly. It is, or it's like saying that your favorite type of music is live recordings instead of studio albums, right?
Yeah.
And that's really the distinction, because the Real Housewives show, or like a lot of those Bravo shows, don't really have anything to do with Amazing Race or American Idol. Like they are so distinct from each other. And so like the reality shows that I am drawn to are, and it's going to sound so like crappy, but there's like no way around this universal truth. Like the reality shows that I like are the ones that are the real, like the ones where it still feels like real people doing stuff.
Right.
Which does not describe like 85%, and maybe that's being a very generous number, percent of reality television programs.
Meaning like, the ones that are just based on a personality, like following around the housewives.
Based on a personality, or ones where the everybody involved in it, or even like more than the average number of people on it, are in some way performing, in some way being characters. Because it's not I'm not just knocking the Real Housewives show, like that's not my cup of tea, but like it is go with God. But like even MasterChef, which I used to watch with my wife, like and MasterChef Junior, like we watched that show as well.
MasterChef Junior, top contender for me.
Well, that show for me, we used to watch it, used to love it, don't really watch it anymore, because every kid, it felt like, was trying to audition for like the child in the sequel to Jerry Maguire. Like everyone was like, look how precocious I can be.
But they have agents now. There are agencies for kid chefs, and there are like kid chef stage moms and dads.
Right. And that's like, I understand that is part and parcel with a lot of how the sausage gets made on these shows. And some of these shows, like, you just kind of have to turn a blind eye to it and not, just let it slide and try to enjoy the show for what it is. But like, I have found that my tolerance for that is now zero. And that is honestly one of the major reasons why we bounced off of the Bachelor franchise so hard, is because it became a lot of that, and that is not fun to talk about and recap, as well as the other sort of, just gross things that happen on that show.
Yeah, the icky sort of ecosystem of reality television is the idea that regular people become famous, so they're being exploited by whatever production for some reason, and then the people who come on the show are not coerced. They come on knowing now they can become like Instagram influencers or YouTubers, and it feels like that's new. But I mean, the original Real World, you had Eric Nies. I hate the
word influencer.
You had Eric Nies hosting The Grind. Oh, you don't like that? You don't want to put hashtag ad in all your posts?
Influencer and content are two words that make me want to jump out a window.
While we were doing the Rose Buddies, we were following a lot of former Bachelor, Bachelorette contestants, and all of them. I mean, that show has become an audition for becoming an influencer and selling what, like, tummy tea and, like, all that garbage that's not real and probably poison. And like every single one of them is on that. The dichotomy that I usually put down, and maybe it's unfair, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually an extremely fair comparison of like the different kinds of reality shows there are, is Master Chef or Top Chef. Because Top Chef, for me, I do not get that. Like, that show is not built for these big personalities which is weird, right? Because so many other Bravo shows are. Top Chef is just like really talented chefs doing their thing at the highest possible level. And Master Chef, like, I'm not saying the food they cook is bad, but like, there is so much artifice and so much performance on that show. Well,
the whole point of Master Chef is that they are not chef. They only call them home cooks.
Which I think that distinction only exists so that it can also be like, we're home cooks, but also all of us are very active in our local community theater programs, and we're gonna let you know.
Oh yeah, I've seen more than one Tevye cook a brisket on that show.
Yeah, so it's hard not to sound snooty when I talk about stuff like that, but it is not the real reality shows is the real art. For me, it is just like, I can't, like, it makes me uncomfortable to watch a non-professional performer perform under the guise of we're doing something else in this reality show.
Yes.
I see, that never bothered me as long as there is some sort of a competition happening, like a legit competition, which is why I was so glad when you picked this topic and I saw the word competition in it, because I have railed against most reality TV since for as long as you have been watching most reality TV.
Right.
I think The Bachelor is hot garbage. I think it is populated by it is hot idiots getting drunk and acting like jerks. They just ply them with alcohol before every episode.
They do. Maybe it's unfair to call them all idiots, because a lot of them are angling for careers in television, which a lot of them do get.
Sure.
And what's
in the worst possible way. Sorry, I have no love for that show.
Some of them also get married and have kids, which is like, that's beautiful.
That I will say, my brother is friends with a couple who were a bachelor. I think they were the Bachelorette and they won.
I gotta know. Well, we'll talk about it after. You don't have to put them on blast. I'm very curious, though.
All right. So this is how I think we can approach this. I think what we talked about before was we'll each pick 3 finalists. But before that, rather than go through, 75 of these shows, 79 shows that our researcher Kate McManus compiled, along with a couple extras from you, Griffin, which I want to talk about.
There's some insanity on this list.
We're not going to mention every single competitive reality show, so if you're listening, feel free to tweet your favorites and feel good that they got mentioned that way.
It's important, the distinction that we're talking about competitive reality shows, because if we weren't, my winner would be Terrace House with a Bullet. I don't know if y'all have ever watched that one.
Terrace House?
Oh my God, you don't know about Terrace House? It's not a competition.
No.
It's a Japanese reality show. It's basically Japanese Real World. Three guys and 3 women live in just a really nice house together in Japan, and nothing happens. And it is so good. It is. I'm drawn to, our showrunner for the Mabim Bam show is, a guy named JD Amato, who I love talking to about reality television, cause we're very much on the same wavelength. And he describes certain reality shows as like the kinds that we like as quiet, it's a quiet reality show. And that is such a polar opposite from so many. It's all on Netflix. They've done like a bunch of seasons, and it's just got these chill vibes that I really dig. But it's not competitive at all unless you consider like vying for the, affection of your housemates. Real World, I don't think is competitive, so I don't think that makes the list.
Right. No, it would not.
How internet, I saw Eurovision in here, which we need to unpack that, cause we need to talk about what is a reality show and what is a live,
and what's a game show.
Yeah.
And what's a game show, right? But how international are we getting? Cause obviously there's, infinity, I feel like, competitive reality shows outside of the States, and there's no way that we can be comprehensive with all.
Then let's keep it domestic.
Yeah. I think with one exception,
British Bake
Great British Bake Off has become part of American culture. I just thought, I wasn't sure if Eurovision counted or not. It is more established music acts, but it would feel weird. It's like this odd thing that I only found out about a few years ago, and yet it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's how ABBA was introduced to the world.
But it feels like it would be like putting the Oscars and the Grammys on here and the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, sports would be like the most, it's like the Olympics. Like, it's the Olympics. I feel like in order for it to be a reality show, like, it has to have that, human element, which is not to say that, like, they don't focus on the performers in Eurovision, but it's, like, not what the thing is. I adore Eurovision. Yeah, I think and I think staying domestic is not a judgment of other, countries' reality shows. We watched one very recently called Documental. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's, this like famous, I guess, retired Japanese comedian, gets 10 other Japanese comedians to, lock themselves in a room, and they all bring, I think, like, 1 million yen or something like that. It's like $10,000, and they put it in a pot. And they put a timer on the wall for 6 hours, and if you laugh at any point, there's no rules except for if you laugh, you're out. And watching what people like do to like try and make each other laugh as the time runs down, and like it just devolves into the most disgusting, like primal humor ever. I very much enjoyed that, but that's obviously not gonna make the list. But it's indicative of just how much programming there is on a global scale.
Mark, do you have one on the list that you know is not going to win, but that you want to mention either because it's so ridiculous or just good and you think people should know about it?
Well, I had MasterChef Junior on here.
In case for MasterChef Junior, I mean, I don't know what the rubric is that we're using.
Look, I'm not a fan of reality television. I actively avoid reality television.
You mentioned.
But I will watch game show competition shows. Yeah. And some of these I consider game show competition shows more so than reality shows. Like a lot of Chopped is a game show.
Yeah, Chopped ain't a reality
show. Chopped isn't a reality. I think you have to have people coming back week to week.
Right.
For it to actually count as a reality show.
Right, okay.
Or people get eliminated. Like, that's a reality competition show to me. So I would have said Chopped. So I don't know, maybe a Chopped tournament. Look, I watch a lot of Chopped, guys. That's my point.
It's very watchable.
It's right.
Yeah.
It's set up. It's such a, you can play a long game. Like, it's set up that way. As far as just like, I don't know. I just love cooking shows. So I'm a long reality, cooking show. I will say this. There was a reality show that I know is not going to win that I love is, Face Off.
I don't know what Face Off is.
Face Off is makeup artists.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yes, I do know it.
So I like a reality show that requires, and these I don't dislike. I respect the ones that require a skill.
Right. There's infinite, there's so many different kinds of those. The most broad being your America's Got Talent, where everybody has a skill, but that's a little too scattershot for my taste. I want to see everybody doing one skill. I used to really like Project Runway, and I think you can lump, Drag Race into this. And obviously you need a lot of disciplines to succeed in that show, but it's still kind of doing the thing.
In Drag Race?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's every section of the movie credits you have to know how to do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Makeup, hair, costume design.
Yeah, maybe that's a bad example because you really do have to do a lot of stuff on that show. But Top Chef obviously is in there.
Here's what I'm thinking of as some sort of standards to go by. Just to throw it in here, and then I want to talk about some of these weird shows. You brought up one, which is people coming back. The idea that it's one group of people you start with, whether it's winnowed down, it's always winnowed down in a reality show. That it's consistent in character week to week. I think another is the extent to which the show focuses on character and personality as a component.
Yeah.
And then the quality of the contest. Is the game that they're playing, is it an interesting game? Would it be interesting with any group of people, or does it feel, there are shows I think that it is essentially the same game every season, but it feels different based on who plays it and what traps they fall into, as opposed to this show is the same thing every single year. I know what I'm getting. Right. There's nothing wrong with that, but
it's conceptual longevity for me is the most important factor of a reality show. And the ones that have really stuck around, obviously, I think have got it in some regard. And I think that is there's, a potential conceptual longevity. Like, how good is the concept? And like you said, like, if you bring in new people, is it going to be fresh every time you do it? But then there's also like, how much have the people who made the show actually realized that conceptual longevity? Because in the case of, I would argue, in like Bachelor, Bachelorette, maybe there's a way to make that show still be fresh, but basically, ever since I believe, like, there's a dude named Ben Flajanic had a season where, one of the contestants was named Courtney, and she was just this very theatrical villain who kept saying winning all the time because that's where we were as a nation. Every season since then has just been like a carbon copy of that season. And so like that one, I don't think that has, but like well, obviously American Idol has something going for it. Top Chef has something going for it. Survivor has something going for it.
I want you to tell me about Murder in Small Town X.
This is why, okay, Murder in Small Town X was a show that came out on Fox in 2001, and me and my dad watched it, and nobody else, I think. I was in high school or something like that, and this was when my dad was still like recording everything to VHS. My dad had like this library of thousands of VHS. Like this memory sticks out in my mind. I mentioned that because we threw all of his VHSs away when we like moved out of that house, and it breaks my heart because as far as I can tell, there is no recorded version of Murder in Small Town X that exists anywhere in the world. But this is 2001, right? Like, this is still early days of competitive reality television.
And final days of VCRs.
Yes. Yeah. And Fox made the most wildly ambitious reality competitive show that has ever existed. It was basically, they brought in like a dozen people into this fictional town that was actually like a real town in New England that they like built this whole fiction around, filled the town with actors, like full-blown Truman Show, and then there was a murder mystery that they had to unravel, and they would have to do so by like going to the scene of these different crimes and like collecting clues and literally like figuring out this murder by themselves. But they were doing so by like talking to actors who were playing these roles. And at the end of each episode, there was some sort of like test, and whoever did the worst on the test, was like one of two people. I forget how the other one was selected. And each of those two people would have to go to one location, like one different location. And at one of them, they would find a clue, that would help the rest in the solve the crime. And the other one would be murdered.
Wow.
But they made a town. They made a fake town and filled it with actors. And there was all this like creepy lore building. Like there were these people, there was like this cult called the Sweepers or something. And they would walk around with brooms. Like you would just see these people in robes like walking around in the background with brooms.
How do you make a broom creepy?
Yeah.
I mean, Stomp did it.
It was an incredible, like, cool show. They made one season, 8 episodes, and then I imagine there's no way to recoup the cost of, creating
of an entire town.
Who did they think was coming on as a sponsor? They're like, the money will be there. Yeah. We know it will.
Guys, Pepsi is super into murder.
Yeah.
It's so early days of competitive reality, though, and they're like, oh, I know. Let's jump it up like 15 levels, 15 conceptual levels. And then there was a show called Whodunit that ABC did, in like the early 2010s. That was like a very cheap knockoff, not as good version of that.
Yeah.
That's probably my standout weirdest. I've watched so many of these weird one season shows like Pirate. What was the Pirate Master?
Yeah. They're
another one that they just spent so much money on, and no way did they like recoup it because they bought a pirate ship. That is
a terrible. I want to throw out another terrible one. To me, this is the hallmark of failed reality competition shows.
Go on.
Which is Who Wants to Marry a Multimillionaire, which featured construction magnate Rick Rockwell and winner Darva Conger, who I think were engaged. They may have even gotten married and then immediately split because he was worth like 3 cents. He had somehow lied to everybody.
Well, no, that was the whole
his
point
worth,
of the show,
right?
Wasn't it? Or no, that's Joe Millionaire.
No, that's Joe Millionaire. This was he actually. I mean, this is really early. This is 2000. I think this was right around when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was huge.
Right.
And they were like,
let's just change one word in the title.
Yeah, exactly. And
then Who Wants to Kill a Millionaire came out the next year.
I think I remember in the finale when they chose one another, them sharing the most awkward. It was like 2 people who were both Frenching for the first time.
Oh, yikes. That's no good.
Yeah.
See, anything that involves, finding your mate via television, to me, is an automatic disqualifier.
It's a tough one. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
there's
like I said,
ways of doing that. There's like there was like a show on Netflix called Blind Date or something like that just showed like one person going on a date with 5 different people. It was kind of like that episode of Master of None. That was like good because you could like actually watch real people go on dates, and like sometimes they would go on a second date. Like I'll watch that.
Blind Date like a regular television show, like a late night TV show at one point?
Yeah.
Like before the reality TV boom.
Yes. That was rough. That was rough in its own regard. That was the one that had like pop-up goofs on it.
Yeah, and it was just comedians like busting chops.
Yeah. These like filthy little thought bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah. This like pop a boner in 3.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like, you know what? We have all this footage of a blind date. Why don't we go to a country club and get them to write some little thought bubbles for us?
Yeah.
Right.
There can't be anything worse than agreeing to be on that show and then realizing you're the one they're going to put the hard eyes on, and then she's the one that's going to be seeing a zombie.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you'll hear the horror screams for her.
I've watched a lot of reality shows, and there's a lot on here that I have never even heard of, and maybe that's a symptom of me not watching very much CMT. I did not know CMT had such a robust line of programming.
Yes.
One of the shows is called Steve Austin's Broken Skull Challenge.
Yes.
That ran for 3 seasons. The conceptual longevity of that show, where I assume episode 1, Steve Austin attacks you with a hammer.
Yes.
Yeah. The Khmer Rouge made this show.
It was a really bizarre, like, tough man competition that he hosted. Okay. So he was like, all right, let's see if you can run through this sand. And people would be men and women, and they would get eliminated for not being tough enough.
Hal, I'm guessing you added this one to the list since it's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I didn't. It was already on there.
Really? You didn't add the wrestling show?
But he had just he'd just come off hosting the later, one of the later editions of Tough Enough, which is their wrestling reality show.
Gotcha. That has survived. It is the cockroach of reality shows. I mean, it's on now, but it bounced around to a lot of different homes until it found its forever home. WWE Network.
That original version of it, though, I really liked, and they got talented wrestlers out of it. A guy, John Hennigan, who still wrestles as Johnny Nitro or Johnny Impact or whatever he is now.
Oh, I know Johnny.
Josh.
He's the one that was on Glow, right?
Yes, he was.
He was great.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's right. And you did a commercial with him.
Spring commercial. With that guy.
He came from Tough Enough.
Oh,
and he was like a skinny little kid then, and then he like bulked up and became a huge star. And
Johnny Nitro.
And if you were a wrestling fan, that was a really interesting look at just a little bit of what it takes to become a wrestler, because they do the exercises, they get berated by like Taz or whoever else was coaching. So I enjoyed that. I don't think it's the best of all time. And then later on, it was like part of Raw. And then
did the Miz come up through Tough Enough?
He did. He came up through the version that was, I think, mostly on TV.
See, that's the story I like.
Yep.
That's a wild transformation.
It's crazy.
I don't know what a Miz is.
He's so good. He's a wrestler who started on The Real World and then decided he wanted to be a pro wrestler and, trained for it, bulked up, and then was on Tough Enough, and now is like one of the best, I think, like salesmen of like moves and storylines that the WWE has. And you got to watch his whole, WWE is all about watching people's arcs, but you kind of saw the arc before the arc with the Miz.
Now, I mean, real people actually competing. Same people come back week to week.
Is wrestling.
Well, it's a little too predetermined.
If we put quotes around the word reality.
No,
because that's going to open us up to every show.
That'll open us up to every fiction that has had realism in it.
I don't want to talk about the Katie Vick storyline on this podcast. I absolutely refuse. And that'll happen if we open it up to Raw and SmackDown.
Katie Vick, is that the husband of the guy that fought those dogs against each other?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay.
One subgenre of the reality category that I'm curious how we're going to kind of deal with is the singing competition, because I feel like you have so many different variations of that now, and so many like wildly successful variations. The fact that we live in a world where American Idol and The Voice can like both thrive and not like detract from each other, even though like the only thing sort of separating them is this layer of game mechanics that exists in The Voice, I guess.
Yeah.
Is fascinating. I do not watch any of those shows because I think I bounced off of American Idol after like season 3 or 4 because I'd gotten my fill of watching people sing. There's still a lot of people who are into that.
Yeah, and they're all different. Like The Voice is all people who can sing. And for that reason, I really enjoy the auditions. And then once they get to the competition and coaching, I sort of tune it out.
Yeah.
American Idol, I watched for many seasons. I want to say I probably watched 10 of the seasons from start to finish. And it's odd because on the one hand, you go, well, why aren't these people paying their dues? There are a lot of people who are struggling, who are as talented, maybe even more talented, that aren't photogenic enough or just didn't come to the audition. But it is interesting to see. You can see who the stars are, whether they win or not, and how they develop. Like Kelly Clarkson, the first live show you watch, you're like, oh, she's the best singer in this competition, and they're not even talking about her.
By far, yeah. She's
if we're talking about these shows through the lens of like success and importance, like to what the genre is and started out as and has become, like I think you make a case for American Idol, but like I don't. It's not a fun watch for me anymore because that particular skill that is being showcased, I feel like is not the kind of thing that like season after season it stays fresh with new people.
And I would bet the thing you remember the most, or the thing most people remember the most, are things like Pants on the Ground or William Hung doing She Bangs. Like you remember the bad auditions, which they put in for the sole purpose of embarrassing people and creating humor.
Yeah. Not great.
Yeah. Any other weird ones here? Utopia, you wanted to talk about that one?
I realized after I like emailed y'all about we gotta talk about Utopia, it's not really a competitive show, so I don't think we should put it on, but
fair enough.
Man, Fox is out here on the bleeding edge of television experiments. They also did Murder in Small Town X. The premise of Utopia is they walled off this land in, I want to say like Colorado or one of the Dakotas or Montana or something like that, like beautiful backdrop.
Yeah.
And they made this walled off little community and they brought like 10 people into it and gave them a little bit of money, and they said, okay, become self-sufficient, literally create a utopia, decide on what your laws are going to be, and, build a, irrigation, build a toilet if that's like what your priorities are, build an electrical. And so like people had different disciplines. Like there was a plumber, an electrician that was on the first cast, and they literally had to like build a community. And it is the most expensive reality show I think ever made, and it did not even finish its first season. They did not even make it through their first season.
That is a mean thing to do to people who sit down and watch a reality competition show and watch the group get whittled down. And you're like, oh, I'm going to watch this show until there's one person left. And then they cancel the show when there's like 7 people left.
But it wasn't, I don't think you could get voted off Utopia if there was like a Lord of the Flies-esque like revolt or, they built a government essentially, and so they could decide to like exile people if they were being jags, which I think they did a couple times.
Right.
Weirdly, that show also had a live streaming feature because, you could pay for like a pass to watch these cameras and just watch them all day. And that was gross. As far as we can tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, not competitive.
That should send people to jail.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that may affect my final 3. Is The Colony a competitive reality show? That is a great, if you don't know The Colony, here's The Colony. It's basically an experiment. They take they get a huge amount of land that has sort of time has forgotten, and they create a scenario, and it's either like a super disease has broken out and killed most people, and that establishes rules. And then they take like a scientist, a teacher, a martial arts expert. They grab all these people from different, disciplines.
That aren't village people. All the ones that didn't make the village people cut.
They put them together and say, all right, figure out how to survive. You're going to be here for however long. I don't know if it's 21 days, until they can rescue you. So they have to figure out how to make potable water, how to work out security because they have people who come in and like disrupt them physically. I think
actors.
It's great.
Any reality show with actor NPCs, essentially, I am so into. At the end of one of the seasons, there was a gang of marauders who like attacked their own base, and they basically had to like LARP, like they basically had to like fight them off.
Throw beanbags at each other?
I mean, kinda. They were like, if this bucket is full of water, but imagine it's full of acid. And we're just dumping it. And they would do that and like literally had to like fight these people. I forgot completely about the colony.
Yeah. Look, Fox, if you're on the bleeding edge of reality television, you're not going to put water in that bucket. Yeah. You're going to hire real marauders.
Was that Discovery Channel? I don't think
it was.
Yeah. Wow.
So great.
There's so many wild reality. I love I guess I have two different sort of ends of the spectrum where I like really quiet, like real reality shows. And then I like the wildest, most dangerous, not necessarily, what was the kid? The one where kids had to create their own colony.
That's what I was trying to figure out the name of the weird, like, that was the Lord of the Flies one right there. That was like, go ahead, kids. And then the world was like, nope, we finally figured out where we draw a line.
And they had to cancel it, I think, because one kid tried to, like, poison another one.
Kid Nation.
There was a poisoning that happened in that one. So they said, let's not keep doing Kid Nation.
Oh man, the picture they have on Google search is a kid in a oversized straw hat who looks already sick, wearing a red mock turtleneck and glasses, just like the most awkward kid. They're like, all right, go create a new society, Benjamin. Good luck.
Yeah. So no Kid Nation. I'm gonna.
We're just gonna eliminate that one.
Hold on, let me cross it off of my 3 that I want to take to the finals.
Why don't we do this? Let's take a brief break, and then when we come back, we'll start pulling out. Each of us will go one at a time. We'll have 3 finalists each, and then we'll determine a winner from that group. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back.
There's nothing quite like sailing in the calm international waters on my ship, the SS Biopic.
Avast! It's actually pronounced biopic.
No, you dingus! It's biopic!
Who the hell says that? It's biopic.
It's the words for biography and picture.
All right, that is enough. Ahoy, I'm Dave Holmes. I'm the host of the newly rebooted podcast, formerly known as International Waters, designed to resolve petty but persistent arguments like this. How? By pitting 2 teams of opinionated comedians against each other with trivia and improv games, of course. Winner takes home the right to be right.
What podcast be this?
It's called Troubled Waters, where we disagree to disagree.
Hello, this is Amy Mann.
And I'm Ted Leo.
And we have a podcast called The Art of Process.
We've been lucky enough over the past year to talk to some of our friends and acquaintances from across the creative spectrum to find out how they actually work.
And so I have to write material that makes sense and makes people laugh. I also have to think about what I'm saying to people.
If I kick your ass, I'll make you famous.
The fight to get LGBTQ representation in the show.
Mm-hmm. We weirdly don't know as many musicians as you would expect.
I really just became a political speechwriter by accident, of realizing that I have accidentally pulled my pants down.
Listen and subscribe at MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcast.
It's like if the guinea pig was complicit in helping the scientist.
And we're back. All right.
I thought we were going to take a break. I got all excited I was going to make some oatmeal.
You get no break. We get no break. Just the listeners.
You can make oatmeal in one commercial break?
Yeah, I do that. I got some cream of wheat, and I've always got hot water on hand.
Griffin and his legendary bladder of hot water. Ready to go.
Oh, internally.
Yes.
Oh,
and
wow.
I don't like to talk about it on podcasts.
My apologies.
Yeah, please. We're going to have to pay him another 10 graham crackers. Griffin, why don't you go first? You got a finalist?
I definitely know two finalists.
Okay.
And then the third one I'm still sort of debating. And so like my main metrics are that conceptual freshness as somebody who like loves sticking to television series, especially ones that are going to run for a long time. Like that's super important to me because that's what makes me fall out of love with these kinds of shows. So like, Top Chef I would put up there. I feel like Top Chef for me represents the best of the skill-based reality competitions.
Right.
I think it beats the pants off MasterChef, but like, if you want to talk about like, So You Think You Can Dance or American Idol or like any of these ones where it's people competing by showcasing a skill, Top Chef for me is the most like wildly entertaining, most watchable, most human of those shows, because you really get to know those people on a very real level and how they like think, how do they approach their art, to the point like when you get down to the final three, you like know exactly like what their specialty is, how they cook their food, which is like a wild fact to know about somebody that you don't actually know. And I do not get that from anything else. So, and also if you want to talk about like level of success and how it has like informed the genre, I think you could also make a case that Top Chef has done that for a lot of reality television, like cooking programming that came after it.
Yeah, you definitely learn technique from it. Mm-hmm. You can learn a lot. I do love that show. I don't think I've ever seen an episode or a season that I didn't enjoy, and I haven't seen all of them. Yeah. So I would definitely put that up there.
We are currently watching the Kentucky season right now. We're not quite, I think it's over, but we missed it by a couple weeks. So we're a couple weeks behind, but we're watching the Kentucky. Like, this is one that we will watch every time it's up. Like, no doubt.
Nice. Mark?
Here is what I have pulled from this list. And I like your metrics, Griffin, that you use as far as like, it's got to be able to be something that brings you back. So, on my list, I have Survivor.
Yeah.
Because, when the game is, all right, whoever holds onto this pole the longest gets to survive. And then it's, okay, everybody, swim out to this island that's 2 miles away. There's a bucket of rice in there. Like, that kind of stuff has always made me, and because I hate this element of it and I hate this part of it. All the backbiting and the fighting is a serious ding against that show, but I understand that that's something that people like in reality television.
Well, hold on a second.
Let me get through this.
Go ahead.
So I like those. So I don't like all the garbage parts of Survivor, but the game parts of Survivor I enjoy.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
First of all, Survivor is maybe the greatest game that's ever been played anywhere ever.
Okay, I was not going to talk about Survivor first. It's obviously on my list.
Yeah,
like I think it's hard for me to think of a show that beats it, and that's why I wanted to save it. I guess. Yeah, but it's for me. It is the game is beautiful. The game is brilliant.
I don't know if I think they're in season 35 right now, 35 or 36
a year, right?
And it's still great. And the backbiting,
38.
My God, it's not as much backbiting as it is. It's a strategic game, so everybody goes in knowing you're going to have to make enemies, but you can't make too many because the people you eliminate are the people who decide who gets the money. So there are people like Russell Hantz who played back to back, maybe two of the best games of Survivor ever in terms of making it to the end and controlling the game, but made so many enemies that there's no way he would ever win.
Squirrely dude.
Yes, it's what is so brilliant about Survivor and what brings me back. There have been bad seasons of Survivor. It is entirely contingent on who is playing it. Right. Because if you get a group of people who don't want to play the game and you get a season where like you get to the merge and one tribe has 7 and one tribe has 5 and the 7's just like, we're not going to play the game. Let's just pick off these 5. Let's have 5 easy weeks and you get 5 super boring episodes in a row. Like, that's not good. But I feel like there have been so many seasons now, in the past, 5 years where people play the game so hard and make a new rule book. Like everybody's not just doing what, Boston Rob did in his season that was so boring because he just ran the game the whole time. People are now playing the game so hard that everybody's a player, and every this season, David versus Goliath, which was the last season, is the hottest season of this show that has ever existed because every episode was like a wild blindside, huge moves.
Yeah.
This season's really good too, and I think we've moved past the point where you can just kind of rest on your laurels. So like, there's no set way to win Survivor. Like, there's no set gameplay that you got to make big moves to win Survivor. Not really. If you're on a season where people like want to kill the person who just made the most recent big move. Like, maybe this is a season where you have to go under the radar. Everybody always talks about how scared they are of physical threats. Like, physical threats don't usually win the show because people get rid of them. If you're too loud in Survivor, you don't get, like, there's so many ways to lose and only one way to win every season. It's so brilliant.
It's amazing how far along the show is. Again, this is season 38. So at this point, the people who are playing, by and large, have watched the show since its beginning. So they've seen every mistake everybody's made, and they keep making them. But there's like a meta piece of, well, I'm not going to make this mistake. People still get voted out with idols in their pockets. People still get blindsided when they think they have control of the game. And then when they play with this season's great because it has a few returning players, most of whom are I'm in a Survivor fantasy league.
Oh my God.
And my number one pick was Joe for this season, knowing he was going to be a target because I just had a good feeling about him. And it's just amazing to watch them try to navigate. Well, do we get rid of the people who have played right now, but I need them? They're a bigger threat than I am, so I can use them as a shield. When do I cut them loose? Like, it's just, there's so many calculations, and the deception is built in. So it's not the backbiting of Vanderpump Rules, where it's like, I wasn't supposed to do the side work. It was supposed to be Tammy, and now she gets to go to the premiere. I need to eliminate this threat.
I don't think the game is nasty, though, right? Like,
I guess I just don't like seeing people be mean to each other.
There's not a mean. I feel like, honestly, it has evolved past that point. Like, there was one season, I want to say it was Game Changers or something, where they started to talk about the game in terms of, like, instead of alliances, they started to use the term voting blocks. And every time somebody got voted out, there is this gamesmanship of just like, you got me, well done. Like, everybody sort of recognizes that, like, the big moves have to happen.
Nobody takes it personally.
Yeah, and nobody really does take it personally. Like, there hasn't been that, if you were dying in the desert, I wouldn't give you a drink of water season 1 turnaround. Like, nobody's taking it that personally anymore. It's about the game. And really, there's been such good sportsmanship of just like, you beat me. Yeah, wow. Oh, big move, guys. Good job.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And I like that. I like that aspect of it. You should feel a little bit stung, but also go, oh, that was a good play. Yeah. That was you got me. Good job.
It's also such a limited rule set. Like, Survivor does not have that many rules, so that every time they tweak something, we went back and we were watching all the old seasons because Rachel and I just like got back into it, and we watched the first season where they added hidden immunity idols, and it blew the game up. Like, that season was totally different from every season that preceded it because hidden immunity idols like turn that whole thing on its ear.
Yes.
I think that was the season that Russell was on, and Russell was just
Samoa.
Russell just spent the whole first half of that season on his own looking for a hidden immunity idol,
like
didn't he?
Truffle hunting pig. Like, rooting around and
he found them. But then the great thing is, so the next season is heroes versus villains. They're supposed to have, I can't remember the name of the guy who, Richard Hatch, but because of tax issues, he couldn't go. So they pluck Russell Hantz, put him in the villains tribe. No one's seen his season. So they're filming as his season is airing. And there is a tribal council in that season where it's him and Boston Rob with two different voting blocks. Russell's is smaller, and you see them going back and forth in 1-to-1 interviews. And Russell's like, I think he's going to vote for this, so I'm going to split the vote this way, and I have an idol. And then Rob goes, this is what he says exactly what Russell says. He says, but if he's anticipating that, I'm going to do this instead. And they go back to Russell. He goes, boy, these guys are stupid. But if they weren't stupid, they do exactly what Boston Rob said. They flip one of the guys in his, like, they turn a majority into a minority in one vote. And it's like everything. I get pumped just talking about it. It's so great.
So there's a choice. Survivor.
So
there's a choice. All right. I have another one
just so it's not locked up. Like, the one thing I will say about Survivor is, especially early on, like, when a season's bad, it's bad. And it is unwatchable and boring. And, if like people are, I don't know, cowardly or whatever, and like don't make the moves, you get a final 3, none of whom deserve it. Like, the show can be very, very bad. So it's not it's not immune to the flaws that I think plague some of these other shows.
Yeah. Here's one show that is sort of in that family that I would put up, which is Amazing Race.
Yes. Production wise, certainly the most impressive show.
Great production.
Wild thing that they are able to do.
Yeah. And the stories are interesting. You're always interested in the people. You have your villains.
They all have their relationship. It's all like an improv class where someone says, think of a relationship. Every Amazing Race is like father, son,
best
two
friends.
sisters, boss and employee. Yeah. Like, it's always archetypal magician and rabbit. Like,
this made me remember the season of Survivor that was, there were 4 tribes divided by ethnicity.
Yep.
And when they announced that, I was looking at Jeff like, are you sure, bud? It was like a wild, are you sure, bud?
Oh, man.
Let's see which ethnicity's the best. Are you sure, guys?
Ethnicity.
This time you wear the buffs as armbands. Let's go.
I think they switched up tribes after like episode 2.
Yeah.
The producers were like, we can't do this.
Did they overtly say we're dividing this up by ethnicity?
Yes.
Or did you just look at the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Because I think it would have been worse if you just looked at the screen and you saw like we've divided up the 4 tribes and it was so obvious. You're like, well, there's the white one, the black one, the Asian one, and the Latino one. We see what you did there.
That was it. That was how they did it. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Amazing Race. I really enjoy. I will watch every season of that, but like, I think of it in the same vein as Survivor, and I don't think it beats. I don't know.
I don't know if it does. It's a lot more positive. It's a very positive show. Sort of in the way The Biggest Loser, which,
is the second one on my list.
It's a reality show about positivity. Like, I know somebody who worked as a producer on that show and was like, it was the greatest career experience I ever had. Cause it was, you're there making a positive difference in someone's life. It doesn't seem like the healthiest thing to have a 500 guy do kettlebells, but
so unhealthy. Yeah. That show is always, it like icked me out.
See, that show is number 2 on my list, specifically because everyone treats each other well. That when someone is voted off, it's strictly a numbers game. Nobody votes anyone off. It is, they do vote people off.
Well,
but
whoever doesn't lose enough weight, whoever loses the smallest percentage, then they get voted on, I think, by everybody else.
Right.
Or there are 2 people.
That's such a like, I don't know. I feel like that is a wildly inappropriate thing to gamify. And I guess,
I just like that it's the only show that I've seen where every time someone gets kicked off, they go around and hug everyone.
I mean, Great British Bake Off, if that's your match, Great British Bake Off is the nicest show ever.
That was my third.
Humans, okay. I keep putting you on blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly I don't like people being mean to each other on television.
You would
and
love
that's what
Terrace House,
so many of these are. And what's that?
You would love Terrace House. It is just.
Yeah, I will watch Terrace House. I just want something gentle where people are being nice to each other. I sound like I should be unwrapping Werther's right now.
My third pick would be like the most entertaining, like the most watchable, and like maybe unsuccessful, but like the most watchable. And for me, there's a show that's not on this list that I really feel like deserves consideration because it was a lot of fun to watch, and that was The Mole.
Oh, yeah.
The Mole was great. We watched every season of The Mole and Celebrity Mole. And the whole premise of that show is like you and your team had to do challenges, but one of the contestants was secretly working against everyone, trying to sabotage them. And at the end of each episode, they would take a quiz on like who they think the mole was and what the mole did that episode, and whoever got the lowest score got kicked off. And like that's a show where the audience, is also playing along. You're also trying to figure out who the mole is, because the last episode they reveal like, oh my God, it's been that person the whole time. Was really great. Also, I think Celebrity Mole was hosted by Anderson Cooper, who like crushed it. It was like one of the most entertaining hosts.
Well, he brings gravitas to everything.
He does. But okay, so my third pick, I've decided I'm just going to lean into it because it's definitely going to gross Mark out, is a show that's called Solitary. Do y'all know what Solitary is?
Nope.
God.
Let me give you the elevator pitch on Solitary. You gotta hang in there. I'll say this first. It was on the Fox Reality Network. So just be prepared for a real roller coaster ride.
Oh boy.
In Solitary, I believe it starts with 9 contestants. They are all each inside of individual pods. And the pods are like not tiny. The pods are, I don't know, maybe, 7 feet by 7 feet, something like that. And each pod has a color and a number attached to it, and there is, a little antechamber where you can use the bathroom or whatever. And the other feature in this room is a red button and a screen that an AI will appear on and talk to the players.
Oh Lord!
Like Max Headroom?
It's usually
it was in fact Matt Frewer playing the AI.
I believe it was a green like I or something like that. It was, I'm trying to remember the name of I'm Googling it now. And this was like the only Val was the name of the AI. Although it was, you know,
Not
it was
Hal,
really a person.
Val.
It was, right. It was a computer modified person voice, right? And that was the only person they talked to. The contestants never meet. These 9 contestants are locked in their own pods, right? So they never meet. The red button, if they press it at any time, they can leave. They're out of the game. So you have agency in that regard. Every episode, you would have, it's kind of Survivor-like where there would be like usually a reward challenge, and then there would be like a kickoff challenge. And sometimes you could like influence the other pods. Like you could say like, your reward for winning this prize challenge is you can deny, one other pod an hour of sleep. And so like if somebody's been screwing you over, you can be like, yeah, I'm going to do this to 5. Or sometimes like the AI will tell you certain facts about each number. Like number 9 is a martial artist and also a lawyer. And people will be like, wow, they must have lots of stamina. I'm going to, screw them over. Or like you have an extra bar of food. Who do you want to send that to? Oh, I like 5. 5 has been on my side. I'll send it to them.
Wow.
The best thing about this show is how the elimination challenges worked, because all of them were endurance tests of some sort. And this is where it's going to get rough, but hang in there.
This is where it's going to get rough?
One of
Not
them
arbitrarily calling people by numbers instead of names and being mean to them for no reason?
Yes, you have to. Well, Val doesn't say your name. Val only calls you by your number. Like number 4, what's wrong?
Sure. If I went, I would 100% want to be 24601.
Yep.
So the elimination challenge is an endurance test. And like there was one where you stood on a bed of not nails, but like pegs, which just like gets uncomfortable after a while.
Yeah.
One, you were sitting in a chair and you had a ball gag in your mouth. That's all it was, which is not like
easy
bad, but like keeping your jaw open for that long actually starts to like hurt. So those are the types of challenges that they do, are these endurance tests. And what's great is the first person, whenever you're done, whenever you don't want to do the endurance test, whenever you think you've lasted long enough, you walk up and press the red button. And the first person to press the red button in that endurance test is actually out. So you want to keep doing it for as long as you think, like, until somebody else has done it. But they never tell you when that happens. They never tell you when somebody else has quit. So like somebody could like do the ball gag 1 minute in, be like, I can't do this. Go up and press the red button and be eliminated. And everybody else can go on with that ball gag in their mouth for 6 hours.
So
for no reason.
So basically the show is the Christian Grey Olympics.
I mean, you could frame it that way, maybe. It is in terms of, like human observation, seeing how people transform. In the first season, there was a guy named Tyler who just like became this mad warrior, who at the end, in the finale, it was him and one other pod who again, like he hasn't met, doesn't know. He says, Val, I'd like to ask you for something. And Val's like, yes. And he says, can you send in an electric razor? And she does. And he shaves his head and he starts calling himself the Tiger. It's so good. Watching people like get pushed to the it is a guilty pleasure of mine, and it's not as brutal as it sounds. And it is I think a brilliant idea for a show, and so fun and so watchable.
Is the catch that the grand prize is only $500?
It's not much. It's like 20,000 or 25,000. Like in the pantheon of prizes, it's not a ton of cash.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
That's I'm interested. I am interested in that.
It's a really fascinating show.
I'm on board.
Here, my other one, I don't want to get to right away.
That's all that's left, isn't it?
Right. But Big Brother, I've never really watched it, so but I know it's a major one. What is the flaw? Why wouldn't it be a finalist? I guess is my question. Have any of us watched it?
It sucks.
Yeah, nobody.
It's just not good.
It's like Survivor without any skill or charm, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure.
I also don't understand the rules. I know there's like a head of household and then you can do something with them, and then I don't, it's just never, all of those just like voyeuristic watch people in a house do stuff from like hidden cameras. Like, nah, I don't.
It's creepy. Too much sliver. Okay. I'm kind of in between. Right now, our finalists, I have Solitary, Top Chef, Survivor, Amazing Race, and Biggest Loser.
anything we don't? Is there any? I feel like we're missing.
I think American Idol.
We got to put a song competition.
Not to put a song competition. I think it's American Idol. They're not the greatest star maker in terms of the people who win.
I think The Voice is a vastly superior show.
It is, but it's not. Tell me 3 people who've won The Voice. Tell me one person who's won The Voice.
Blake Shelton.
Nope. Tell me 3 people who've won American Idol.
Sure. Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, Ruben Studdard.
There you go. That's why Fantasia Barrino.
Yeah, I think that's, but I mean, that's unfair. Like the American Idol in those early seasons was like the only game in town.
Yeah. And it was the show that, it was appointment television.
Yeah. Right. But the guy who I cannot remember who, because I'm a wrestling fan, looks like Bobby Lashley right down to the pancake hat, who won the first season.
That is 100% lost on me.
His initial audition was doing Time After Time and accompanying himself on guitar, and it's breathtaking. And you watched it and knew he was going to win. I don't remember his name, and I don't remember anything about him on that show other than the initial audition.
Right.
Because you watch, to me, the reason why I watch it is to see people, I want to see who wants to coach who. That to me is the interest. Once they start competing, I'm not interested in them doing duets with Adam Levine.
Well, that show has but that's the thing though that I like about that is it has that variety that once you get past the semi-mean American Idol auditions, then it just becomes a straight up tournament. Where The Voice mixes it up. They have their diva battles. They have their, they do a lot of, the game steps along the way I think are more interesting than the ones on American Idol.
Right.
Honestly, my problem I think with the singing shows now is it's just not visually interesting to watch a person just stand in front of a microphone and just barrel it and sing. Like, I don't do that with like singers whose work I actually enjoy. And that's why I actually really like, So You Think You Can Dance.
That's what I was going to say. That's a
great one.
Visually, So You Think You Can Dance, like Dancing with the Stars can, go pound sand.
But So You Think You Can Dance, like I've seen performances
and
there
ABDC,
that have taken my breath away.
Yes.
ABDC was great. I think I'm going to take one of mine off because it's not been shown any love on here. So far, I'm going to take mine that did not get shown any love off, The Biggest Loser.
Okay.
And the one that is not getting its due until now, I'm going to put So You Think You Can Dance.
Okay. But that
back in contention.
American Idol I put up there just because of the machine that it is. I also want to throw the Great British Bake Off on there.
Yeah, I think you can definitely make a case for that.
That was my third one.
The tone of it is so special.
Okay. So here are the finalists I have here. We have So You Think You Can Dance, Great British Bake Off, Solitary, Top Chef, Survivor, I don't even know what I wrote here. Oh, Amazing Race. My own handwriting.
It looked like it's an Avatar
You removed
pie.
Biggest Loser?
Yeah.
Is that right? And an American Idol. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have 7 of these.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can bump American Idol. Like that show was important and historic.
Congratulations, American Idol.
Yeah, we're not really watching it, and Fox dropped it, so can't be that good. And I would kind of do the same for Amazing Race, just because like it is production wise an impressive show, but like the concept, like the game of Amazing Race, is not especially like rich. I feel like it's fun watching people get lost in big cities, but like the game mechanics of Amazing Race don't really do it for me.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I like So You Think You Can Dance a lot. I like that it challenges people. I remember one year they had the guy who was like the Broadway dancer. When he was in his element, he did like a Singing in the Rain. The storytelling is great, but it just, as the game of it, again, like
it's repetitive in the game structure, but the dance numbers themselves make it not repetitive.
They did a season of Kids, just all kids, and it was so boring.
I mean, that's pretty cloying. Watching a kid's dance recital is something that you're forced to do. It's not something that a network should have advertisers pay to.
Yeah, they were talented, but like not as talented as adults. So like in order for me to be blown away by dancing, I need them to be pretty good. And the kids just didn't.
And there's some epic dancers on these shows.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think we can eliminate it.
We're going to leave solitary up there, but we're going to eliminate the one that requires skill.
We'll bump solitary next.
My nasty little gross. I think I only included solitary because again, like I do appreciate a show where the concept is so like wild, like Pirate Master or Murder in Small Town X, like, but in terms of like, you know, it lasted 4 seasons on Fox Reality Network. Like nobody watched it. So kick that off.
All right. So now we have Great British Bake Off, Top Chef, and Survivor.
Let's decide between Top Chef and Great British Bake Off, right? They're both cooking shows. I know they're very different, but it seems like we can't have them both on the list. And as much as I love Top Chef, I don't know.
Top Chef, the thing I think Top Chef has going for it is within its industry, as far as I know, within its industry, the winners of Top Chef and the competitors on Top Chef are viewed with much esteem. Right. Whereas in a lot of these, if their industry, like, is like, oh, you went on the reality show version of our industry. Right. You sort of get your eye rolled. But Top Chef is the version of that is like, no, this really is absolutely people at the top of their game. What do you think is more important? Is it that you are watching masterfully skilled people in a competition or that you are watching personalities? Because that's I think the big difference between the two is both have very talented cooks.
Well, and they're very similar in how it works, right? Where, they're set up with 2 challenges or a challenge per episode.
There's like a baby challenge and a big challenge.
There are 3 judges who decide who goes. It's amateurs versus pros, but the Top Chef feels like a pressure cooker, whereas Great British Bake Off just feels like, well, I tried my best, but, my flan fell over. And then,
well, you know where I'm gonna, you know what side I'm gonna err on.
Both shows, I think we can give credit are, these 3 remaining shows are all, like, brilliantly hosted. Like,
yes.
Padma and Tom and Gail on Top Chef, like, so good at what they do. And, you know, whoever is hosting Great British Bake Off in whatever season you're watching, like, they're all just stellar.
Yeah.
And Jeff Probst is obviously, like, has been holding it down for, like 19 years now. So,
yeah.
I think, I don't know, right? It gives me 2 different experiences. Watching Top Chef is, like, inspiring, watching people be extremely good at their job, and the stuff they make, like, gives you that sort of food porn, like, oh my God, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
And Great British Bake Off is, like, pajamas. It's like I want to, you know, cuddle up on the couch and light the fireplace and drink some tea and watch this gentle, beautiful show.
Yes.
But I think Top Chef probably wins. Like using the rubric we've been like,
I'd say
judging
that
everything else by.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
One season, I think it might have been DC. They had their first thing was they had to prepare like 10 onions or like brunoise an onion. And one of these guys, I can't remember his name. He was this big dude and he did it so fast that it was like a factory machine. And that is the thing I remember the most from that show. Yeah. Like how good he was at a simple prep thing at getting everything ready.
Wait a minute. You just gave me, How It's Made factory machines. How It's Made is the best reality show.
Well, it's not
That's
competitive.
Just close-ups of factories.
Yeah. Do you want to see us spray asbestos in this canoe? I do love that show. And even down to like the whatever website they go to get the royalty-free music.
Oh man. Yeah. It's pretty magical.
This would be a wild heel turn if we said, after all this work, all right, it's How It's Made.
It's How It's Made. How It's Made is the best reality
show.
Because each show, the products compete against one another that they're building.
Yeah, exactly.
Decide which one's the best.
And one of the products shaved its head.
Yeah.
It's Unwrapped.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the best these are reality shows.
That's, what's his name? The Double Dare host. Mark Summers.
Yes. Yeah.
Mark Summers, it's basically a cooking show, but for food made in factories. It's hi, I'm Mark Summers. Welcome to my cooking show. Today we're going to be making Twinkies. So, let's go to a factory. It's a cooking show that you couldn't make any of this stuff at home.
Show me vats of slurry and molds. And that's like catnip for me, 100%.
What we're going to need in this bad boy is 2 pounds of soy lecithin.
All right. So we're down to our 2 finalists.
Top Chef
and Survivor.
It's always been Survivor.
Yeah.
It has to be. It is.
It's the grandfather. It's still going. It's still good.
it's astonishing how there was a dip there, right? Like there were a lot of this is the thing again that I would hold against Survivor. There were a lot of seasons in there that I think you could say were not great television, and I think that's honestly where I get a lot of sideways looks when I mention that I still watch Survivor, because there was a long time there where the game didn't evolve. The game was repetitive. The game, like, you got to the merge, the people with the numbers, slaughtered the other people, and then whatever. But in the last, ever since, like Blood versus Water, I want to say, like it's gotten really good. The game has evolved mechanically slightly, but like just the players are smarter, and the casting, I guess, has gotten better. And it is so good. It is still such a good game, and it's so old. Survivor's been going for 19 years, but Expedition Robinson, which was the original one, started in like 97 and is basically the same thing. So like, I don't know. It is an incredible like game and show for me.
Yeah. So this is it. It's time for the declaration. Come on in, guys. People of the world, you've got to dig. You want to know what you're playing for? Idols, strategy, torches, sand, blisters on your feet. There are a lot of close-ups of foot blisters. It's one of the grossest things to look at.
A trip to the Outback Steakhouse Ponderosa.
Outback Steakhouse Ponderosa. Make your own sundaes. That'll work out here. Coffee, chickens.
Another reason it should win is Top Chef makes me sometimes want to eat the food that the people cook. But when you watch people be deprived of food for 30 days and then Chef shows up and he's like, you're going to get in a knife fight and whoever wins gets half this Crunchwrap Supreme. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to eat a Crunchwrap Supreme. So watching these people, like, I bang these Crunchwrap Supremes makes me want to eat one so bad.
It's the greatest ad for food.
It's so good.
There ever was. It's Survivor, the greatest reality competition show. It's asked and answered. We all knew it. From the beginning, you probably knew in the back of your head. Griffin.
Yo.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a treat. And a pleasure.
Obviously, everybody can go to McElroy.family to learn everything. This is coming out today. And
wow.
You just announced a tour. Tell everybody about that. I mean,
yeah, we've announced basically the rest of the shows that we're doing for the rest of 2019 for My Brother and Me and the Adventure Zone. And you can we're going all over. You can find links to. I tried to summarize it on Wonderful, which also comes out today, and I failed miserably. So just go to McElroy.family. We got all the tour dates, and we're going all over. So I hope you come see us.
Yes, you do not want to miss it. They put on a fantastic show, as the many sellout crowds he played in front of would no doubt attest to.
The first issue of our miniseries we're doing for Marvel, the first comic for that came out today as well. It's called Journey into Mystery, and we all wrote it, and you can now go get it. There's like I think like 5 issues that are coming out, so today's the first one.
That's fantastic.
Congratulations.
Love it.
Thank you.
And there you go. This topic is settled, but there's so many more. So if you have one for us, send it to us by email at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com, or go to our Facebook group. Talk about reality shows that you love. Let's start a thread about it. Facebook.com/groups/WeGotThisPodcast.
Or reach out to us on Twitter at WeGotThisTweets, or check out the Maximum Fun subreddit.
Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus for a lot of different titles of shows that I have never seen before. Graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thanks as always to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, our listeners. I want to put you all on an island and form up teams and vote you all not out, but in to our hearts. One at a time. There's room in here for everyone. Reality TV should be nicer. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. Don't worry, everybody.
We got this.
We got this.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Audience supported.